right, let's hit some cars. Bring that chin down, look over the shoulder, drop your ear to that shoulder, circle all the way around, back to the start. Reverse that process. We're gonna go 3 each way here. As with all of our cars, make that circle as big as you possibly can, with avoiding pain and then adjusting any other joints above and below. So in this case, I want to get more cervical rotation, but I don't want to move my spine below. We're going to do the same thing at spine, same thought process. The joint above is our neck right now, and then our hip is keep both of those set. So I'm moving completely from the top of my tailbone to the bottom of my neck, making a circle as big as possible. If you're having a hard time not leaning or pushing your hip opposite, you can actually do this seated, which you'll notice from time to time in our classes we might go to kind of reinforce that position, creating what they call a fixed point that you can rotate around a full axis of rotation. 3 each way as well here. As per always, avoid ranges of motion that may cause pain or discomfort. Moving on, we're going to hit into scapula. Arms straight out in front. Remember, they can go forward and back, but not up and down. So start off squeezing your shoulder blades, elevating your shoulder blades, pushing your shoulder blades forward, and then pulling them back down, pushing them forward again, elevating, pulling back, pulling down, pushing forward. We're going to go 3 circles with our shoulder blades, getting as much motion as I possibly can. I'm going to do a quarter turn for you, keeping that torso locked in. So a lot of times we'll see people get here, arch, then keep your ribs down and just move isolated through your scapula. Moving on, we're going to hit into our shoulder. Start off by rotating that arm out. We're going to come up and across our midline, keeping that arm pulled out. Once we hit a block, you'll feel it. You're going to start rotating that arm. We're going to keep rotating until I come all the way back around to my pocket. When I'm at that pocket, I want to do a quarter turn so you can see this. This arm is facing away. When I go back, hit a block, slowly unravel, and then come back to start. We're going to go 3. Making that circle as big as you possibly can. Controlling that joint above. So that would be our elbow in this case. Not trying to bend or move in any kind of particular way other than making that shoulder circle as big as possible. And that joint below being our rib cage. Transitioning to the opposite side, you'll notice there's going to be a right-left discrepancy. Like, oh man, my dominant side gets a little bit more range or has a little bit more ability to control at that range. And I think it's a really good opportunity to go through that body's asymmetrical, and if we choose to load you bilaterally, we need to make sure that we allow for that joint to move to not cause pain or dysfunction. This is always a really good active assessment to show why we do everything asymmetrically, so we can get that range from one side versus the other, or get some sort of metric on what that range is so we don't load it inappropriately. We're going to transition down to our elbow. We're going to start off supinated, or we're holding sup. We're going to flex that bicep, rotate that arm down, and then reverse. We're going to go 3 each way here. We always talk about this position when we come down to supinated grip stuff, so if you're really struggling with things like chin-ups or a supinated grip pull-up, we really want to get that supination in there at the forearm, finding it, fixing it, and then start loading it. 3, and then we'll transfer into our wrist. On wrist, elbows are pointed 90 degrees. Imaginarily, I'm holding 2 cell phones or I have lasers pointing up to the ceiling. I'm going to start off pulling my fingers to the ground, bring my hands in, adjust, rotate out, and then come back to the start. If you're struggling, we can either hold on to one wrist, or we can make a closed fist, really try to lock in that forearm position. And And we're thinking the rationale for holding onto the wrist is if I'm really struggling to keep my forearm in position, if I'm really struggling to keep my hands long, then we go to a closed fist. We're going to go 3 each way there. And we are completely aware that this one doesn't have a ton of range, but that's why it makes it that much more important to go ahead and hit that. When we're done with that, we're going to move on to hip. Find something stable, a wall, a fence, top of your couch. We're going to bring that knee up, keeping that torso locked in. Rotate, pull out. As I pull that knee out, I want to keep my belly button, sternum pointed straight ahead. Rotate, push back and away. Keeping this fixed. Bring up both knee, heel, slowly unravel, back to the start. We're going to go 3, and then we'll switch to the other side. Lock in your position, create stability, get to that sticky part or that part that's hard to move, slow down. Transfer to the other side. Again, we're aware that we're going to have symmetry and lack thereof. Just brings more of a reason to train things. Three on this side, and then we're going to transfer down to the ground. So if you have a towel or a yoga mat, go ahead and place that on the ground next to you. We're going to go ahead and make our way to the ground. Locking in our upper leg. Set yourself up so I have all that motion that I want coming below my knee. So I'm going to rotate my shin out, extend my knee up, rotate that shin in, come on down. We're going to go 3 in both directions, up and down. And then we're going to lower our guard to our shin and do what we did on our ankle. And if you're keeping track at home, this is the exact same cue we gave if you were struggling to keep your forearm locked in. We're just, for your wrist, we're just doing that now before with our ankle. So I'm grabbing my ankle, I'm locking in that shin, and I'm going to rotate as big of a possible circle as I can around that fixed shin. Really trying to stretch that outer part. Again, finding that safest, greatest range of motion you can hit. 3 clockwise to counterclockwise. And then switch sides. We're going to transfer over to that other knee. Lower guard. That's our cars. All right, so anywhere program, looking at practice 3, big focus this one on hip internal rotation. On practice 1, we did hip external rotation. Now we're going to focus on the other side, hip internal rotation. So we're going to go back to our 90-90 position. Remember on our 90-90, we want a 90-degree bend of our knee here, 90-degree bend of the leg there. We actually have a 90-degree bend right here as well. So 90-90-90 if you want to get super technical. Off of that, we're trying to line up on the back, so we're setting to stretch for our back leg. So we're going to simply rotate towards the back leg till you feel some sort of stretch in this general area. There's really a bunch of stuff in there, and not saying any specific muscle. We're just looking for something in terms of tension here. And that's actually driving more rotation in that back leg, which is what we're doing right now. All right, so we're going to hold the stretch for 2 minutes. We've already been going for about 30 seconds. Big key here is on diaphragmatic breathing, so we're in through the nose, out through the mouth. Right, we want to set that stretch position, we want to relax in that position. We're not past a certain point just yet. We're just holding at this point, try to get a good deep stretch in that hip capsule. So when we go to our pils and rails, we're a little bit more primed and set up to change all the tissue within that hip capsule. So keep focusing on your diaphragmatic breath. Do an inventory of how you feel in this position. If there's pain, obviously pull back. Find a position that's not painful. If there's a slight stretch, that's a good thing. Remember, we're setting up for our rails, meaning that we're going to have to lift up here as well as we're doing some passive range liftoff. So find that appropriate balance or distance that we need to get into so we can set up for those movements. All right? Explanation on pails, we are now shifting gears away from the front leg towards the back leg, but we still want to keep this front leg engaged, and that's going to come through creating tension through our body. So when we set up for the pails, we're going to ramp up that intensity, driving this back foot and shin into the ground, rotating on this leg or that knee staying on the ground. All right, we're going to work up to 100%, hold that for 10 seconds, and then we're going to reverse by lifting as hard as we can, as high as we can, for another 10 seconds. After we're done with that, we'll parachute down, and we'll sit deeper into the stretch for another wave of pails and rails. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in. Let's pack that air down. Let's create pressure and tension throughout our body. Push that front leg down. Now we're going to drive that back leg into the ground, about 20% of your strength. We're going to ramp up to 40%. Now we're going up to 60%, slow, steady ramp in between. 80%, we're getting towards a higher threshold here, so find your safest, greatest effort. 100%. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, big key, don't change your torso position, and reverse, lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, keep fighting, 3, 2, 1, parachute down, try to turn more into that hip, so see if you have a little bit more available range. So big kind of component of these pails and rails is we're kind of tricking the nervous system. We're activating the antagonist muscle group to get a little bit more potential range into that agonist. Antagonist is the opposite or opposing, and agonist is the thing that we're actually trying to drive. Right, so we're focusing on hip internal rotation, so when we go into our rails, we're actually going into more hip internal rotation. Now off of that, the nervous system will respond by turning off, thinking it's got to contract one side and give us more potential range on the other side. So that part of ramping up and creating tension on this side here, that's going to create a big foundational component of getting more rotation on the opposite side and overriding any nervous system blockage that we may have. All right, so let's set up again. Think about finding your safest, greatest effort. Your second rep should be therefore better than your first rep because you have more familiarity. Let's take a deep breath in, pack your air, create tension through your body, apply 20% down into hip internal rotation. 40%, 60%, 80%, working up to your safest, greatest effort, 100%, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maintain position and lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Parachute down. See if you have more available range. While we're relaxing into this stretch, you should have more range. I'm going to go over the next series. We're going to go a passive range liftoff with hip internal rotation. So just like we did in practice one with hip external rotation, we want to set up a little bit so it can actually create some separation from the ground. The cue will be pack your air, meaning create pressure here and throughout your body. Lift up as high as you can, hold for a 3 count, and then parachute back down. We're going to do 10 passive range liftoffs with hip internal rotation. All right, let's set up here, find that position where you actually create some separation from the ground. Take a deep breath in, pack that air, and lift. 3, 2, 1, parachute down. If you change position, just hold that position. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 2, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 3, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 4, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 5, parachute down. Back the air, lift, 3, 2, 6, parachute back down, pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 7, parachute down, pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 8, parachute down, pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 9, parachute down, last rep, let's make it our best, pack the air, and lift, 3, 2, 10, parachute down. If you need a second to shake out that leg or walk around, just get some blood flow back into the area, please do so now. All right, so now we're going to transition into our hip switches. Remember, our goal is to get our torso to the locked in position. If I can keep my hands engaged in the ground, and that's the necessary means to do it, please do so. If I can lift my hands, it's going to be a little bit more taxing, but a little bit more challenging to maintain that torso position. So we're going to transition back and forth 5 times, trying to keep your torso as upright as possible and use as minimal hands as possible. All right, so whenever you're ready, let's start transitioning. As we're transitioning, keep your torso fixed. Keep this lead leg moving. Keep that back leg glued to the ground as long as you can. As you get further along, we're going to use less and less hands. That's 2. See if we can get no hands on this one. 3. Now lock in that torso position more, create tension in your hands. 4. Last one. We're going to go all the way over, and then we're going to come back halfway into a bear position. And I'm going to rotate so you can see me. So in this bear position, we're just lining up like such. Now this could be a little different than what we did the other day with abduction and then also to our shoulder rotations. We're going to work hip internal rotation. So this one's a little harder to maintain your position. If you need to, find a wall or a Sorenex rack where you can lean up against. We're going to push this knee in, and then we're actually going to create IR on this leg. So we're going to really hammer internal rotation. So whatever leg that you just worked, we're going to work the opposite, right? So now I work my right leg. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch into my left leg and get some love on that side. So from here, I'm lining up my torso as I would in my normal bear sit. I got one leg lined up here, and I'm going to take my other knee, come up and across, and push it down and in until I feel somewhat of a stretch. Right, so what we worked the other day was hip abduction. Now we're going to work internal rotation in this bear position. So I want to keep this knee almost inside edge of that foot so I can work a little bit IR. We have a little different position of the torso and a little different position of the femur, so we're going to get a little different effect here. So just push that knee in until you feel a slight stretch. We're going to hold that for 2 minutes, which we've been doing for about 30 seconds. On the explanation of pails and rails, now my hand is the equivalent of the ground. So instead of driving my leg into the ground, I have to use my hand as a block to push against. So our pails will be pushing my knee out towards my hand, ramping up. As I'm ramping up, I want to keep my body as still as I possibly can. On our rails, I'm going to move my knee away from that hand. When I'm going down to the ground, try not to collapse into it. Stay as rock solid as you possibly can above your waist, and hold that for a 10 count. Okay? So we'll take a deep breath in, we'll pack that air, we'll start working through pails, and then we'll go into our rails. All right, here we go. Deep breath in, pack the air, create tension, lock it in. 20% of your maximal strength going out against that hand. That hand is like stone. 40%. Slowly ramping in between, 60%. This may be an interesting position for you. If you feel pain, please stop. 80%. We're going to find our safest, greatest effort. Now our maximal here, 100%. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lock in your torso position, reverse. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold that knee stretch position. Try not to lose that position that you have lined up in your femur. We're gonna hold this for another minute. We have a little bit more stretch capacity there, so we're gonna hold that, and then we're gonna go into another pails and rails. Once we're done with that, we'll switch sides, and then we'll go back into our hip switches, and then we'll hit our other side and hip internal rotation. Control your breath here, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Try to get deeper into that stretch, get comfortable in that stretch. If you feel pain or a sensation that you don't like, please stop immediately. On that hip, make sure that we're locking in above. So if I'm moving a ton around this leg, I'm not getting hip internal rotation. My body's just moving in that general direction. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in. Let's go ahead and pack that air. Let's start our pales contraction, pushing down against our hand. 20%, 40%, slowly ramping to 60%. Find your threshold, we're a little deeper stretch. 80%, so your safest greatest might be a lot less right now. 100%. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then hold that new stretch position. Hold that for a couple breaths, and then we're going to switch into our bear sit. Just get a little comfortable there. When you're ready, we're going to go into IR on the opposite side. So this is the side we just worked. In that 90-90 position. You might feel some soreness in your hip or your shoulder capsule because there's such direct, intense, targeted focus in that area. That's just essentially aligning new connective tissue in that shoulder or that hip capsule. And we haven't moved in these positions or these directions or these planes in a long time. So there's a little bit of an acclimation period. But it's also a good period to kind of work this stuff, because if we kind of just hide and not really give any acknowledgement to increasing mobility, and then the lack thereof we have, we're not willing to go through that kind of period because we have so much other stuff we got to do, like squat, bench, lunge, RDL, all of these things, we're never really going to get that target effect. So in a lot of ways, like listening to our body on this and really trying to intensely focus on mobility, takes a long time in terms of adaptation as well. And this goes into all the principles of training. In principles, we look at everything is universal, that they're true in any context. So if I'm working mobility, it's the same set of rules as it would be if I'm working strength or working body composition or working endurance. We need to progressively overload. We need to manage our frequency. We need to manage our intensity. We need to manage our response to that training. And we need to have the right course of action based off of how intense that may be for us. Those principles will never not be true. So that's a really kind of cool thing to kind of figure out in this time period, albeit our circumstances have changed. We now still have to rely on the same set of principles that got us this far, and we have to keep those principles as go even further. All right, so let's take a deep breath in. We're going to work our pales and rails into the side. Pack that air, create tension. We're driving that knee out against my hand, which is like stone, 20%. Ramping up slowly to 40%. 60%, we worked the hell out of this side previously, so it might be a little tight. 80%, find your safest greatest, you determine what that is. 100%, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, lock in your position, 2, 1, reverse. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, keep fighting, 3, 2, 1, put that hand back down, and let's get into that deeper stretch position. We'll do another passive here, and then we'll go back into our hip switches. You can see the impact based off this leg getting hit pretty hard in that 90-90 position, and maybe it's a little tight, a little fatigued. That's good. That's exactly what we're looking for. It's just a lot more concentrated, right? It's almost like bodybuilding. We're doing such an isolated area for a period of time that area will generally get fatigued. But instead of trying to build the muscle mass around that joint, we're actually trying to increase the space or the capacity of that joint. But it's amazing to see the tissues between those joints, those muscles, as well as the tissues that align that joint, the connective tissue, respond the same to stress. And having that feeling of, okay, there's fatigue building here. Okay, what is my appropriate bandwidth to handle this safely is up to you to determine. And the goal is to come back again tomorrow and train as effectively as that, and we target a little bit more upper body. But if we can really get a good awareness of what my joints can handle and increasing my capacity there, but still respecting laws and principles of training, we're gonna get great results, there's no doubt about it. All right, so let's take a deep breath in. Let's pack that air. Let's start creating that ramp slowly into that 20%. Remember, fixing that torso position. 40%, 60%, 80%, 100. We're gonna hold this for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, reverse, go in, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly hold that stretch position. We're gonna hold this for a couple breaths and then we're gonna just transition to our bear sit. Deep breath in. If you need to pop up, shake your legs out, please do so now. Anytime you want, please help yourself to a drink. Make sure you're staying hydrated during this too as well. All right, so we're gonna go back into our hip switches. We have a little different hip area, so just take your time as you transition. Just try to explore that space as you're figuring out my potential range that I may or may not have. We're just gonna go back and forth. As you ramp up, you can use more or less hand. Just trying to figure out how do I move exclusively through my hips. If you lack hip rotation, it's going to be really, really hard. Hence why we put so much stock and emphasis on working hip rotation and all these pails and rails, as well as shoulder rotation. We're going to go 5, and then we're going to transition to the opposite leg back as when we started. So if we had our right leg back when we started, we're going to just switch to our left leg. From here, we're going to set that stretch position into our 90-90. We're focused on hip internal rotation. So I want to line up as tall as I can and lean up over that back leg as much as I can. Again, we're looking for some sort of stretch position in here. Once we're here, we're just going to go into a 2-minute stretch of diaphragmatic breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth, just trying to relax as deep as I possibly can into that stretch. For the people that have been doing a lot of the 90-90 fascial stretching, as well as a lot of the different adductors or like stretching in this area, the hip capsule in general, you know, the hope that it gets incorporated or incorporated into those movement patterns that we want to do. And that goes into that big compounding interest that we're talking about. Can I get more return from less time? Do I get more range and do I have more control at that range during my big global movement patterns? Will dictate me getting towards a goal faster. I want to look better, I want to feel better. Having more range of these joints will allow me to get more out of those big movements that get me to somewhere I want to be faster. So thinking about this in conjunction as part of your plan, when this does pass, as keeping that rotation and improving that rotation of your hip and your shoulder so we can get more constantly out of bench and squat and deadlift and pull-ups and these things that are really, really important to helping us look better, feel better, but having that awareness that my lack of capacity will always be some sort of a governor. If I can increase that capacity now, as well as keep that going throughout the period of time when I go back into training, I should therefore have more of a response to that that's positive. Okay, so let's set up here. We're gonna go into hip internal rotation. So we're gonna drive this back leg in the ground, being cognizant of this front leg needs to stay glued, my torso needs to stay locked in. I'm just trying to rotate my leg into the ground. So let's take a deep breath in, let's pack the air. Let's start driving this back leg into the ground. About 20% of your maximal strength, so not much just yet. Slowly ramping to 40%, 60%, 80%, 100, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't change, lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Parachute down. Slowly sit deeper into that stretch if you can. On the end of the rails, that's potentially the amount of range of motion you will have. So we're thinking the more I'm turned back, the more it replicates into that rails position. So if I turn more and more, I should have therefore have less lift on that back leg. But that's what we're looking for, is to take this stretch to a range that I can comfortably control and then create a contraction in that position. That's hopefully the goal, and we're finding that through our ability to trick the nervous system and lifting that leg and getting higher and higher. And the real fun part is integrating that, putting that inside of a movement pattern, letting that time and sequence exactly when you want it, wherever you want it, to have an ultimate expression of power or force or capacity, where I can go longer, I can go heavier, or I can go faster. And that comes from just getting really good awareness of what your joints are capable of, but then to applying that in these movement patterns. So if we feel like a premature block when you go down on a squat because something's tight, work on that accessible range, but then figure out how to integrate that into that movement pattern to get the actual value from it. Okay, let's get another round of pails and rails here. Let's take a deep breath in. Let's set our torso position. Let's pack that air. Let's create tension so we get as maximal focus on this back leg as possible. 20% down. 40% down. 60% down. 80. Find your safest, greatest. You're in a more stretched position. It might be earlier. 100. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, keep that torso position locked in, lift, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, parachute down. Hold that stretch position for another 30 seconds, and then we're going to transition to our passive range liftoff. So we want to line up so I can get that lift. So it might be what I did before I started, that stretch position I was there. Now that I have more available range, I want to be able to lift that leg a couple inches off the ground, keeping that back knee glued to the ground. We're going to go 10. Remember the cue will be pack the air, lift, hold, 3, 2, 1, parachute down. Okay? Back leg, hip internal rotation, passive range liftoff. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 1, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 2, parachute down. Wherever your torso is now, just keep it there. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 3, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 4, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 5, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 6, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 7, parachute down. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 8, parachute down. 2 more. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 9, parachute down. 1 more. Make it a great one. Pack the air, lift, 3, 2, 10, and sit deep in that stretch. Hold this for a couple breaths. Then we're just transition out of that, shake it out, get some water, and let's finish up with some breathing. All right, so we're gonna go into breathing. We want to focus on a couple things here. When we look at breathing, we want to create a good respiratory mechanic, and depending on your orientation, there might be positions that you feel a little bit better in. Either you're more inhalation focused or you're more exhalation focused, or breathing in or breathing out. And not to get too much into the nuances and the complexity of it, we just want to find that position that's really going to be a positive feedback loop for you to get more out of your breathing and more out of your subsequent movement. So there's 3 options we can go with here. There is an inverted position where we can go on our knees. If you want to elevate a little bit higher with some books and maybe some towels, if you have some balance pads at home, this would be a good opportunity to use it. The more elevation we have with our knees, the better. We're going to collapse down to our elbows. We're just going to go into our breathing. And you'll notice on this one, it creates more forward and back motion, which if you have more of a preference towards inhalation, you might feel a premature block, which is the point. We want to focus more on the alternate, the exhalation. So that's one position, inversion. If you notice that you're a little bit wider in orientation like myself, you might want to go inverted. All right, the next one would be just a simple 90-90 position. So without grabbing a chair, just imagine I have an imaginary chair or my couch here. I'm going to rest my knee, my back and my legs on there. You actually might want to pull down on your heels to get this slight elevation and turn that pelvis into that position. That recruits a little bit more hamstrings. And then we're just gonna go right into our normal breathing like we did there. If you're more of a narrow type, like if you're like a little bit longer and taller and skinnier, you might feel a little bit better in that one. And that actually might reverse it, right? So that position that we're really good at pushing air out, we might have to focus on taking air in, which is what we want in that one. And the final one is just very simple, lying down on your stomach, crocodile breathing. And you might just want to do that just for kind of almost a meditative purpose, where I just want to relax and get into that position and just focus on my diaphragmatic breathing. And all these positions, it's breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth like I'm blowing through a straw. If you actually have a straw, by all means, please use it. If you have a balloon, that's another really good option to do that. We're just looking for whatever position gets you the best breathing mechanics, get you the best recovery, so we can come back and train hard the next day. Whatever one you want to do, just hold that for 2 minutes, and we'll see you in the next video.